At dawn, police discovered a shattered camera lens in the courtyard of an abandoned orphanage outside the city. The device was buried in debris, but its storage remained intact, holding the record of a broadcast that shouldn't exist. The camera belonged to a man who had died miles away on an empty highway. Emergency responders logged his time of death at exactly 2:20 a.m., following a high-speed collision with a truck. Digital metadata from the recovered footage tells a different story. The broadcast did not begin until 2:35 a.m., 15 minutes after the driver's heart had stopped beating. A body destroyed at 2:20 a.m. cannot physically operate a camera or walk through a ruin. Yet the footage shows exactly that, creating a 15-minute gap between a documented death and a live broadcast. The man on the screen was Swastik, known to millions of subscribers as the Night Hunter. His career was built on the pursuit of viral debunkings, taking his camera into places others feared to tread. Swastik was a strict rationalist who publicly mocked the idea of the supernatural. He viewed every haunting as a psychological trick or a calculated attempt at engagement, often telling his audience that they were only afraid because they chose to be. He chose this orphanage for its grim history. 15 years ago, a fire swept through the building, killing a group of children and their elderly caretaker. For Swastik, the location was merely another backdrop for his next high-traffic video. This wasn't a case of a frightened amateur imagining ghosts in the dark. Swastik entered the building armed with sensors and skepticism, making the resulting data logs even more difficult to reconcile with the official police timeline. Swastik arrived at the gate at 2:35 a.m., according to his stream. He immediately began deploying his diagnostic tools, motion sensors and thermometers, designed to catch physical changes in the environment that the human eye might miss. The first alert came at 2:55 a.m. A motion sensor in a nearby room triggered, its beep cutting through the silence. Swastik laughed it off. He checked the room and found it empty, telling his live audience that the equipment was likely faulty or that a stray animal had tricked the beam. By 3 a.m., the activity intensified. 3 independent sensors in different parts of the building triggered simultaneously, creating a continuous alarm that filled the main hall. This chart tracks ambient temperature. At 3:07 a.m., it drops from 24 degrees to 16 degrees in 30 seconds. Even as the thermal alarm flashed red, Swastik dismissed the data, convinced someone was playing a prank to boost the stream's numbers. At 3:20 a.m., the sounds shifted. Faint laughter echoed from the corridors, and the heavy dining tables in the hall began to slide across the floor without any visible force. Swastik kept his eyes on his monitors, trying to find a mechanical explanation for the moving furniture. He was so focused on measuring the room that he failed to notice his own physical reality was beginning to fracture. At 3:33 a.m., the broadcast began to fail. Digital noise and jagged artifacts tore across the screen, obscuring the frame. When the image stabilized, the camera's monitor showed an elderly woman standing directly behind Swastik. She was charred by fire, her eyes wide and staring. When Swastik turned his head, the physical space behind him was empty. His audience saw her immediately. The chat log shows a sudden shift from skepticism to panic, as thousands of viewers typed the same urgent warnings to look behind him. Then a notification appeared on Swastik's own phone. It was a message from his own official account. It read, "You're not being hacked, you died in the car." In this moment, the digital interface became the only thing telling him the truth. His physical body was miles away in a wreck, leaving the livestream as the final remaining link to his consciousness. Swastik looked down at his hands. They were becoming transparent, his skin dissolving into fine, smoky particles that drifted away into the dark. The caretaker finally spoke, telling Swastik that he had been searching for sensation and views instead of the truth he claimed to value. His drive to capture the perfect stream had provided the anchor that kept his spirit in the orphanage after the crash. Dark, distorted shapes began crawling from the shrouds. The entities grew larger as Swastik's confusion turned to the exact fear he spent his career denying. The caretaker reached out and took his hand, guiding him away from the camera. The device fell to the floor, recording nothing but the silence of the empty hall as the connection finally severed. The Night Hunter's final video remains a digital anomaly. It stands as a record of a man so committed to his online persona that his broadcast continued long after his physical life had ended.